Alright, welcome back. This is a review for Fruits Basket Season 2, Episode 23/48. And this is one of the episodes I have been waiting for, not just since Season 2, but since the beginning of this entire thing. Because it is, and I'm gonna call it by its old Tokyo Pop translation. It is the Sorta Cinderella play, and I love this play. I love this so much for many different reasons, but mainly just because it's absolutely hilarious. The chaos in this entire thing is just it is downright gold and hilarious, and it's chaos, and it's just so good. It's just so good. I love Hana's line of you know, Yuki fairy godmother comes up and he's like, "What do you wish for, Cinderella?" And Hana's like, "Burn the ballroom down. Just burn it down." And it's like, Hana, it's so good. I love this. I love this play way too much. It's such a fun play, and there's a couple little interesting things in it that are kind of like that, because that are kind of like they're double. I wouldn't say double speak, but it's like they have double meanings to them, and it's so good. But then you just got the absolute hilarity and chaos of this entire play, which of course everyone in the audience is like, "What am I watching?" You're watching something that's sort of Cinderella. It's so good. Oh man, I love this too much. I love this play way too much. So get the play, and um, I mean it's just pure chaos because you have both characters. They're trying to follow a story, kind of, but the characters are both acting as out of character, not like out of character for themselves, but out of like the character that they're playing. They're acting out of character for the character that they're playing, as well as acting in character for their own character. and and it's just you can't not even the audience is completely confused. But I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know whether these people are acting or whether this is just going off the script. I don't know, and that's what makes Sort of Cinderella just one of the best anime plays I've seen in a long time. Alright, I would say in a long time, just ever. It is so good, and it's so hilarious. I love it just way too much. Just way too much. But you get some really interesting little kind of double meanings to certain things. So you get like Uo's outburst, where Prince Kyo's like, "I don't want to go and see her," or whatever, and Uo's like, there are some people who wish that they could. And she like smacks him with the glass slipper, and she's like, there are certain people who can't go and see the people that they love, so go see her. And then she's like, "Come and see me," talking about Kureno. It's just because Momiji catches on that because he's filming, and so later Toru's like, "Oh, hey, can you maybe," or Momiji tells her he's gonna make a DVD copy of it, and Toru's like, "Oh, hey, do you think you could maybe give me a DVD copy of it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, but like I can also I know that you just want to give it to Kureno, right?" And Toru's like, "What? How did you figure it out?" And Moji's like, "Aha! Yes, I am a detective. I am good." It's like, "Yeah, I kind of figured it out. I pieced it together." um, which is actually funny because, and I don't know if they're gonna mention it in a net, I don't think it'd be until next season anyway. But um, I want because of course they've been updating the technology in Fruits Basket anyway. But like in the manga, it was a DVD. But it was funny because Toru didn't even know what a VHS was, let alone a DVD. And it was hilarious. And so of course they're probably just gonna nix her not knowing what a VHS is and just having it through. Oh, it's a DVD. Like, oh, probably be surprised that he knows how to copy a disc or something. That's what I'd assume, just because you kind of got to modernize the technology a little bit because they've already done that with certain cell phones and such. Um, but then you get some of the other little double meanings here, in that you got Hana, she doesn't of course know anything about the curse, but or the fact that Kyo is going to be locked up after high school, but she's just in her character reciting the lines of being like, "Oh, come on, Prince, you don't want to be locked away in your castle forever alone until the day you die, do you?" And of course Kyo responds, both in just terms of acting as well as just him responding, being like, because that is kind of the situation that he's going to eventually fall into, is he's like, that he's going to get locked away and he's going to have to be by himself, and he was like, so what if I do? So what if I do wind up locked away in, my own castle, so to speak, by myself? It's not going to hurt anyone else. And then you get Toru, who just comes out of nowhere and is like, but I don't want. And she stops herself. She of course, Kyo's like, wait, what? And of course, Kyo's completely surprised by this, but Toru has to stop herself, and Kyo's completely shocked by this, and and you get the end of the episode as well, where they're thinking back on this conversation. They keep kind of thinking, both of them keep kind of thinking back to this conversation, this little outburst that happens right here, and they're both like, of course, at the end of the episode, you have they both go, no, it's not possible, it's not true. I won't allow myself to think it. Now, mainly, of course, this is both them realizing that it's possible that the other one has feelings for them, or at least, in a sense, you already know that Kyo obviously has feelings for Toru, but you're obviously getting to the point where Toru's starting to realize that she's kind of has feelings for Kyo, or at least trying to accept that. But it's interesting because you have both just the concept of, Kyo's already. I don't believe he knows that Toru knows that he's going to be locked up. I think the only so far Toru actually knows that she. I mean, everyone else. Or how to say this? So Toru, when Akito told when Akito told Toru that Kyo was going to be confined after he graduates high school, she's the only one that knows that. Like, Kyo and the rest of them don't know that Akito told her that. Well, besides now Kazuma, because she had the conversation with Kazuma back at the end of the beach arc when they came back. But Kyo, with her being like, I don't want, with this little outburst of Toru being like, I don't want that. Kyo's kind of realizing that, hey, maybe she actually does know that I'm going to be locked up. After I graduate, and that she doesn't want that because there's something that she doesn't want me to be locked up in that way. But then also thinking that might possibly be because she has feelings for me. And then you have Toru on the other hand, who she kind of has realized what she said and is struggling now with the fact about how she feels about Kyo, and that she's like, I don't want to think about how I feel about him yet. It's not possible. It's not true. I don't want to, because she's still, like, again, going back to when Reen asked her what was most precious to her, and she was about to say her mother. She's like, I should have said that, but now there's someone else, being Kyo, who's more important to me now, and I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know what to do about that. And so for Kyo, it's both a combination. His, I don't want to think about it yet. Is does she actually know that I'm going to be locked up after high school, and does she really? And the reason why she doesn't want me to be locked up is because she might have possibility. There's a possibility that she might have feelings for me. And in Toru's case, it's she doesn't want to think about think about what kind of her reaction was, because she's not sure if she doesn't want to quite yet admit to herself that she's actually in love with Kyo, that she has at least some form of romantic feelings towards him. And there's reasons why. Again, we'll get into them in season 3 as to why. And this is, again, one of the things I love about Fruits Basket and its writing. I can't go too much into detail, but and typically other, even in just straight up romance series, it'd be like, oh, the main character doesn't want to tell her main love interest is that she's interested in them because she's too shy or too scared that they're going to reject her. But Toru has her own specific reasons, as we've kind of already been seeing here with being with her mother. And so, I mean, I won't go into too many more details, but you'll find out definitely in season 3, and it's so good. So again, I love the writing in Fruits Basket. It's amazing. So you get a lot of these little. The play was both chaotic. It's like a play, but not. I want to say it's a play within a play. It's like this, really almost like this so chaotic play that you can almost pretty much act completely out of character, or pretty much just say whatever you want, and people won't know whether you're acting or whether you're saying that because you're acting and trying to play a part, or whether you actually mean that. And so that was what really makes that scene even more like, wait, was she just saying that because she herself means that, or is she just saying that because it's just maybe something that she was saying for a character line, or felt like she should say as her character. And so it gets even more, it just keeps going down the rabbit hole there. It just keeps going. um, so we're getting past the play, and you get some absolutely little cute scenes between between Kyo and Kazuma, and get the little funny scene with Saki in there as well. And Kyo be like, please, please, master, don't get married. And Kazuma's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're adorable. You get some really cute little scenes between Hiro and Kisa, because they came to visit and watch the school play. And Haru and Hiro kind of bringing up that he knows about Rin by accident, and Haru being like, kind of just rolling with it and being like, do you like Rin, Hiro? And Hiro's like, no, not in front of Kisa, and no, I don't like Rin. Hiro, this entire episode was just having one bad day. One bad thing happened to him after another. He was not having a good day. But he was trying his best to control himself, which is good. But then the other thing that you get in this episode, which I kind of mentioned in my previous review, is you get the little bullying scene with Machi and some of the fangirls. And Yuki kind of overhears it, and he initially wants to go stop it, but Kakeru's like, hey, no, you should stop, because you specifically going in there, it's just going to make it worse, because they're fighting, they're arguing, they're getting upset because of you. So just, if they get, I'll go and try and do something, but if you see them getting physical, yeah, go ahead and step in, but in the meantime, she's gotta speak up for herself. She's gotta defend herself, which Machi does. But the Yuki fangirl girls are like, no, you called Yuki not a prince, how dare you, that was so rude, apologize. And Machi's like, I'm sorry, and they're like, no, not like that. They're like, how do you feel about Yuki? What do you think about him? And she, of course, she says all this while not knowing that Yuki's overhearing her, but she's just honest, and she says, I think he's kind of airheaded, is what I think. Yuki's like, what? She thinks I'm an airhead, which is true. He's kind of airheaded. Yeah, he's kind of a little bit of a goofball. But she's like, but I also don't think he's a prince. I think he's a very lonely person. I think that he's very lonely, and that even when he's surrounded by people and surrounded by friends, that he just seems lonely to me. Which Yuki's shocked to hear, that there's actually someone who gets him. There's actually someone who recognizes the fact that, yeah, that's kind of how he felt. That, one, she doesn't consider him a prince, that she doesn't put him on a pedestal above everyone else, and just be like, oh, he's this magnificent being, and kind of, separate him from everyone. She doesn't see him that way, nor does she think that he's, this he's this perfect person. She goes, he seems lonely to me. Being that, he seems human, while everyone else is like putting him on this, in a sense, godly scale, being like, oh, he's this prince, he's this, he's this untouchable person. Machi's like, no, he just, in a sense, he's just human to me. He seems lonely. And of course, Kakeru distracts that's when Kakeru comes in and distracts the Yuki fan clubs with, oh, there's gonna be a photo shoot with the president. So they freak out and run off. But Yuki's, he winds up talking with Kakeru, and he's like, hey, I was surprised because she called me an airhead, which Kakeru's like, hey, you're just figuring that out now? But he's like, but she also called me she said I wasn't a prince. Which Kakeru's like, hey, yeah, I guess that makes sense, because even back when, at first, back at the last episode of season 1, when you had that little brief conversation between Machi and Kakeru when you still don't know who they were. He's like, oh hey, there's Yuki. He's the prince. He's just as pretty. He's just as pretty as everyone says. And Machi's like, yeah, but he's. And then she doesn't finish her sentence. He goes, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's probably what she was trying to say. Um, and it's again, you can kind of start to tell because Yuki even was kind of blushing when he overheard when she called him lonely. That yeah, they're kind of maybe sort of that he might at least have some form of familiar that not familiar but some form of connection that he might be starting to kind of form a little bit of a bond with Machi, at least starting to understand her a bit more. Um, and again, I love Machi. She's so precious. She's a very she doesn't talk a lot, but she's a very perceptive character, and that she can really tell a lot of she observes a lot. She's perceptive because she's of course she's not talkative, but she observes things, and because of that she's able to understand things, and sometimes even understand things that some people don't understand immediately. Like even Toru, it took her a little while before she kind of realized that Yuki was more than just his prince persona that he kind of outwardly put out during school. But Machi was kind of able to tell right away because in a lot of ways Machi and Yuki are kind of kindred spirits, and we'll get into Machi a little bit, probably even a little bit into next week's episode too. But it's so good. I love them so much. This is so good. Um, but that's really about the majority of this episode, and it's so fun. It's so good. It's such a funny episode. This is probably the most comedic episode in the entire series, and it's so good. Um, Now next week's episode is going to be interesting because the second half of this episode ended on um, the second half of this episode ended on chapter 89. But based off the preview or just the preview title for next week's episode, we're skipping all the way to chapter 94. And there's a reason for that because 90, 91, 92, 93 are all like one story. And people were kind of debating back and forth as to whether they were going to end it in this season with that story or whether they were going to leave that story for season 3. Or whether they're going to leave that story for season 3 and skip ahead to what they appear to be doing now, or if they were just going to do that story now and do what they're now doing. And I know what I just said is probably really confusing. But pretty much they're skipping 90 through 93, and they're most likely going to be leaving that for next season. I'd assume probably the beginning, at least close to the beginning of next season. If that's the case, that's going to be interesting. Especially if they start off with that next season, that's going to be an interesting. I would like to say a cold open because oh boy, that's going to be fun. But it looks like, especially based off the preview images that came out today, they're definitely going to be probably going to be chapters 94, 95, which are interesting chapters. Well, the first half is gonna be fun. Second half is it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be good, and then the finale is gonna be oh boy, the finale of season 2 is gonna be an interesting one. Anyway, so that's really about it. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.